Welcome to the Apex Esports League Ferrari Series 488 Challenge for Project Cast 2 on the PS4. Tonight we have round 3 of the 5-round series. We're heading over to Sonoma Raceway GP, and tonight we have a fair few drivers, which is nice, so a fair few returning, and of course they are all competing for the Apex Esports League Champion Coffee Cup for this series as well. So drivers very keen to get their hands on it. Tonight we've got 2 races as usual for this series. We're heading over into a 15-minute practice, weather clear, then a 15-minute qualifier, weather clear, and then the first race is 11 laps, weather clear, no mandatory pit. Then we'll have a 7-minute break and then head back in for session 2 with a qualifying of 15 minutes, weather light cloud. And then we have the main race, which is 25 laps, weather medium cloud to clear with a mandatory pit. So far in the championship, after 2 rounds, we have Gallon 350 maintaining the lead with 217 points. Not too far behind is Bertie 1035 with 187 points. Corby 387 in third with 166. And Psychogency also not too far behind on 159 and followed by Mersey Blue. So no clear leader just yet. Anything can happen, especially with another 2 rounds to go after tonight. Last week we saw Psychogency qualify second in the sprint race and take the race win and also the fastest lap. Then also in the main race he qualified pole, took the win for the main race and also set the fastest lap. So some very consistent driving by Psycho. We had Gallon finishing second in the sprint race and third in the main race, and then Corby third in the sprint race and then second in the main race. So with the leaderboard with being Gallon, Bertie and Corby and Psycho, some very fierce competition between those few. So we are loading up to head off into the pits now. So we will bring up the track map in just a moment. So we are in the USA for the Sonoma Raceway GP. As you can see, the track length is 4.05 kilometres with 19 turns. There's a lot of sweeping bends, a fair few sharp corners, a couple of hairpins, some chicanes, and not too many fast straights. They do have a slight bend to it, so a lot of passes will most likely be occurring in Sector 3 and Sector 1, and a lot of more tighter passes through that Sector 2. So it's about to load over to the pits, so we'll jump over for the drivers once it loads in. And here we are. Trying to see if we may have lost anyone that hasn't come across. And if you're not familiar with the track, it is a road course for the NASCAR. They are a handful to drive around this track. So over to Gallon 350, our series leader currently. He's very keen to get his hands on the Champions Coffee Cup. And he was mentioning he may be unavailable for the final round. He is intending to actually head off and be going to Bathurst to watch the Bathurst 1000, and that the final round is wrapping up just a few days before the actual race. So for Gallon to try and get his hands on that prize, he needs to set some very strong qualifyings in tonight's round and next week's round, and then also a strong race finish as well. So I'll bring up some statistics. I don't have it to display, just to see average points that some of the drivers have been getting per race. Currently we have Gallon 350 averaging 54 points per race. So if he maintains that average, he does have the strongest average. The next strongest average of points Oh no, sorry, the actual strongest average is Psych Agency. So after that round last week, that's actually put into 80 points per race. We may have missed him in the first round, I am not sure. So Psycho's had 2 race wins, average race position 1, 1 pole position, no seconds or thirds, where Galen has had 3 poles, averaging a qualifying position of 4th. He's had 1 race win, 1 second place, 1 third, and the average position is 3rd. Otherwise, we have Galen with 54 points, average Weaven with 51. He's done quite strongly as well, and Bertie's with 47, and the other contender for the top is Colby, which is averaging 42. So statistics-wise, there is an opportunity for Psycho, if he performs very strongly tonight, to definitely take a good amount of points up and contend for the championship lead. I don't think it'll be enough if Galen finishes in a strong position for tonight. So we'll go through our list, and if you're joining us for the stream, be sure to say hello. I can see the chat. You see JK Gamer using the sound effects down below. As I always mention, we have those there for you to have a bit of fun with. Do some sound effects and cheers and whatnot over the stream. Boo, cheer and jeer any of the drivers as you see fit. And Mersey Blue doing quite well. I think, not sure who that is behind him. In the orange car. Trying to work out who's in that orange car. It's Mr. D-Train. Mr. D-Train in the championship currently sitting on 65 points. From memory, I don't think he was there for the first round, so he was a late comer. We don't have any debut drivers tonight. They're starting to become seasoned drivers with Apex eSports League. The first times coming in, 132. Weaven doing well with a 133 as well. Oh, Corby coming through with a 131.9. I think in this practice session, I think we definitely will see a 130. We might jump on board with... Jump on board with Weaven for a lap, just so you can see the track. So it's just come through pit straight. It's not a very long straight. Only a bad time for him to jump on board with him and running off. So you can see some very blind corners coming around, a lot of crests. Have to get that driving line nice. You can see a bit of variation for this with the GP version. The track does actually normally head off down through there before turning off into this right below that hill. So you get a nice little windy section, a few technical corners, quite fast on those corners. You can go flat out through there quite well. As you saw, he was in 5th gear going down around that bend. And you should get down to about 3rd here, then over the curb for the hairpin. That's a double apex, trying to line that one up. If you do get a nice line on that first one, you can just about throw that car's rear out a little bit and then get on the full power. And then onto the back straight. So you can go flat out through here and get up over that curb, mostly at a fairly high speed if you are cautious. But then need to get this car across quite heavy for this hairpin. So there's going to be a fair few incidents most likely on this hairpin. and not getting it right there, you will lose out a lot of speed coming up for this pit straight. There we are, a lap with Weaven. Thanks for a lap there, Weaven. And driver's yet to get a time on the board. Psycho. My race feed is showing lap times have been invalidated. A fair few have spammed the screen. Looks like, I'm not sure who that is in the red one. I cannot remember who was in the red car. Yes, that was Weaven just spinning off. I think that was where we saw him spin off when we were on board with him as well. We may need to look at making a few adjustments to that car so he can handle that corner. The bump stop and the anti-roll bar will be quite needed, as you'll, with that crest and going rather quickly up through there, you want that tyre to still be trying to be making contact with the track, as it is actually still a rather fast section. You don't want to be backing off too much. You want to still be flat out but have as much grip being laid down as possible. Gallon doing quite well, a little bit wide out on that, but that was how I was explaining. You can do quite a fast section through there on that almost double hairpin. And the zero has come through for 135.5, sorry, 131.5. Zero getting up on that ripple strip, pushing this Ferrari quite hard. Psycho's just invalidated time as well. And we're waiting for Bertie to get a time on the board as well. He's now come through for 133.5. And Gallon's just set the fastest lap, 131.187. So pushing a little bit more, maybe a few little tweaks. We did see Gallon slightly go wide on that double apex corner that we were just talking about. Not a lot of time difference between our first six. It's only just under 2.5 seconds. From the looks of the chat, we are getting 2 lots of spammers. Nice that people think they can now jump in and spam our channel. That's lovely. And if you are joining us for the stream, be sure to hit that follow button. We appreciate it. We're only 6 followers off our next milestone goal of reaching 50. So it was a very nice line by Mr. D-Train through there. Zero's just spun off or cut a corner quite badly. Lap time's just been invalidated. Corby's brought the car into the pits. Vert wheel over into the purple Ferrari. It is showing a bit of damage to that car. And following Psycho is also showing a fair bit of damage as well. Psycho's yet to put a time on the board. Bring up the speedo, see how much pace he's getting out of his Ferrari at the moment. But Wheeler cutting that corner a little bit, almost into a spin. Oh, that's just invalidated his time running off there, and then it'll also count for the next lap, most likely as well. Gallon still with the quickest time, 1:31.187. 3 minutes remain of the practice. weaving, running wide there as well. It's a nice, fun, fast track to drive. Sonoma, especially in this GP version. Nice line by weaving, getting up over that curb. Let's see how he goes as he... Actually remove the speedo. So nice and fast through there. This could be a good time for weaving. A lot of good camera angles for this track as well. And to get a lot of nice coverage for tonight's race. Some of the tracks, the camera spots are quite poor. Bring up the timings, see if he did just improve that. No, he was actually about 4 seconds off the pace. We're at a 0, he's very tight off Gallon 350's time. Only 0.333 of a second. A very nice line through that double apex. Oh, a little bit slippery. Gallon's flying up behind him. Could be an opportunity for Gallon to increase his pace a little bit for this lap. If a 0 doesn't slow him up, he can use the advantage of a slipstream. Oh, Gallon's just gone off rather wide. That's invalidated his time. And possibly the next as well. Gallon's car showing a bit of front panel damage as well. We did see him bring that car into the pits. He obviously gone off and made some wall contact somewhere. Don't forget to check out our links down below on the bottom of the stream. There is our Facebook page, so you can keep up to date with all our results for all our series. And there'll also be a link to head over to our Facebook group, which is where all the drivers enter the events and register their car selections for the racing and all other important details for getting into the lobbies and the likes. So if you want to compete in any of our races, be happy to join. You can use a controller if you've got the skills to be able to handle these things on this game with a controller. I know it can be quite difficult with project cars too. But we welcome drivers of all skill level. And there's lots of friendly drivers who get together quite regularly after each event and during the week as well. And just before, all the drivers were in a practice session having a good practice at this track before ending up in the lobby for tonight. And then we're always happy to lend a hand and share setups, and any knowledge will be shared as well, so definitely get involved in our groups. And then we've got our YouTube channel as well, which you can head over to and subscribe. All our past races are saved there. Oh, a lot of broad sliding going on by Bertie. So practice is complete. 50 seconds remain. So drivers on their last laps. So between the 9 cars on the field, so far only 4.8 seconds separates them. So it is a decent amount of consistency going on with the cars. So just waiting on a 0. I think he has actually already crossed. So here we are. Seeing the results. So Gallon 350, our series leader, coming in with the fastest time in the practice. You can see in the sector times, we'll have a look. Sector 1, all in the 20s except for 1, which is Psychogency, in the 21. And then a bit of difference in Sector 2, so a variety from 39 seconds up to 42. So a lot of passing will most likely be occurring there. And then Sector 3, just about on par, 31s and 32. So all drivers quite consistent through Sector 1 and Sector 3, which I mentioned where we probably see a lot of our passing. Sector 2 being the more technical makes it that little bit more difficult, so there'll be some very tight passes by some of our drivers in those sections. Drivers now have 15 minutes to get in their qualifying times for the sprint race. But we are looking to get some heat into those tyres before getting out of the pits. Drivers do have to remember, if you were with us for our broadcast just on Tuesday gone for the V8 Supercars Bathurst Challenge, we saw, I think it was Vert Wheeler, end up with a pit violation, so speeding in pit lane. So it's manual pits set for these races. The drivers cannot exceed the speed limit of 60 in the pits, otherwise they will receive a grid place penalty. So our series leader needs to try and claim a pole position here, and then get off to a good clean start. It's a fairly tricky first section to head off into. It is the technical section of the track going up the mountain and then back down, and then pit straight is very short. So there's a bend first off and then a uphill sweeping right. So most likely a lot of cars will be rubbing, not allowing a lot of room for it in that section. And if you do qualify strongly here, you do not want to get off to a bad start and then be caught up in that traffic. You're going to try and get ahead quite quickly, try and own that track position, block off a bit of traffic early on. D-Train, pretty tidy first lap. He's going to get a nice run going through that hairpin, so he'll be off to a nice flying start for his first hot lap. And my race feed has not continued on from the practice session, so I won't be getting an up-to-date feed as per usual. It is a ongoing glitch with Project Cars 2. And Psycho gone off track. The drivers have custom setups available for the cars. They're not forced to use the default setups. They can adjust the cars to their heart's content as to the limits of what the game allows anyway. Oh, a little bit offline. With low-lying cars like these hitting that curb, you can actually see it was actually quite high on that double elbow with that twin apex. Getting up over that curb will slightly put you offline for the next corner. You want you just scrape just in front of it, dive out almost off track, and then a hard right straight in, and then you can just about flat foot all the way through. First time's coming in. Oh, and Gull's gone off track. No damage. That shouldn't require him to... Oh, he's going to bring the car in. Must have taken a bit of damage or making an adjustment. It looks like he's gone into settings. When you see the car jump like that, it's usually them loading into the engineer or making adjustments or setting a different one. Weaving heading back out of the pits. We saw pretty low 131s in the practice. Weather conditions are clear. Game time for the practice was 9 in the morning. Game time now is 10 o'clock. meaning track temperatures have increased, and the season is summer, so it is going to be rather hot out there. It means there will be a fair bit of tyre wear for these cars. In the Ferrari Series 488 Challenge cars, they are limited to only soft slicks and then an all-weather, and of course your snow and ice tyres, which I wouldn't want to imagine trying to do an ice drive with these guys. And the differences between your hard compounds and your soft compounds is basically the hardiness of the tyre. The hard tyre not allowing as much grip, but when there is quite high track temperatures, the hard slick will actually be almost more grippy than the soft. And a lot of drivers do tend to actually mix up their tyres a lot in some of our other series that we have had. They will mix up a hard tyre on one of the fronts that usually tend to scrub out, so if there's a lot of corners that are scrubbing out just one particular front tyre, they will actually just put a hard tyre on for that wheel only, just to make that last a little bit longer, and then run softs everywhere else, and then you can usually get through a race without having to actually change tyres. So a variety of options that make it much more interesting with pit strategies and setups. Not so important for this first race coming up, with only being the sprint race. We've only got 11 laps and no mandatory pits, so having to pit for that race will see you slip back to the end of the grid. But with 25 laps for the main race tonight, we will definitely be needing pit strategies to be accurate for them. A nice line for Gallen. So we've got Corby for 132. Not sure what fuel loads the drivers may have been testing. So a nice line for Corby through there. You'd see not hitting that curb on that first bend allows you to have that much quicker entry and exit speed for that second corner. So all drivers getting a time on the board, which is great. I'm just going to say our slowest time was a 1:45. I can't remember who that was. It may have been Zero or even. That's just jumped them up into third and fourth position. It's only 5.5 seconds separating the field. Can't see if anyone has invalidated lap times. Oh, and Maisie Blue running wide. That won't count for him. Wouldn't have been any damage taken there. 6 minutes remain of qualifying. Running off wide again. And the unfortunate thing too, once you have gone off, the tyres do get coated in the pebbles and dirt, so it can take a few corners to try and clean those tyres back up. A nice line by Mersey Blue through there, just scraping it. See some rubber left on the track through there. That's what I was mentioning on going up over that hill and that crest, going flat foot. You want to try and have as much grip stuck down on that corner. So suspension setups would be a must for that, and then adjusting that anti-roll so that there is enough weight distribution going to that rear set around that corner. But not too much, so you need to then adjust your aeros just to make sure that there's enough downforce just to keep that front and back down evenly enough. You don't want to adjust it too much, otherwise you're going to lose a lot of turning. And we've got Gallon in his clean pole position, 131.5. It's what we did see him set in the practice. So he's getting back on par with what he was doing there. We should be able to see a little bit of a quicker time. Nice line for Gallon through that double apex. Through the chicanes. You can get up over those ripple strips on both and fly that car straight down the middle almost. And in our first round as well, when we were at Willow Springs International Raceway, we had Gallon qualify in the poles, but he did get a jump start. They had to end up into the pits. And then the second race we saw him take off rather cautiously, trying to avoid that jump start. But we did see him do some brilliant recovery driving. So he's bringing that car back into the pits, I think. Or he's going to wait, yep. But he may have been waiting for someone else to go past. Try and use them as a bit of a windshield for them. Don't forget to make yourself known if you have joined in for the stream. That's Colby Frey at 7, tucking in behind Mersey Blue. Nice line by Mersey Blue. Colby a little bit off. As you can see, Mersey Blue getting back away from Corby. And Psycho getting back up to speed. He said he hadn't done a lot of practice. He's got a brilliant line through there. I think this may be a good lap for him here. Jump on board with him and see if we can get a sector update. On the brakes about here. Heavy. Oh, he's just... Wow, unfortunate. He wasn't on the brakes as heavy. Didn't get that car pulled up in time, so that lap won't count for him. Unfortunately, it would have been a good lap, I think. No point for him to bring the car in. I think he just needs to try and cut out another lap. He might call in. No. He'll have time if he can get this car around quick enough. It'll give you an opportunity to at least set another lap. And a 0 running off wide there as well. This lap also not counting for him. Right, he's about to wrap this lap up. It won't count for him, however. He gets through this hairpin nicely, which he does. That's a brilliant line by a 0. To get him a nice run off the start. He needs to make this lap count. I think he can definitely catch some ground if he has a nice clean lap now. That was some brilliant starting speed to cross the line with. There's some very competent drivers across the board here tonight, and Corby, as I've mentioned in past streams, is known to steal pole position in the last lap, which he has done. Oh, and then Gallen, that's just not counted for him. Yeah, he's going to bring that in. He's just going to... I think he's rather cheesed at himself here. Losing that pole on the last lap and then going off. We have Bertie, Weaven, Psycho and Vert Wheeler with a chance to improve those times. Oh no, Bertie's brought it in. He's Weaven about to wrap up the lap. We see him move up from 4th. Yes, he does. He moves up into 3rd position. Well done, Weaven. Not sure if that car's driving quite easy. I don't know if he's already may have crossed the line. That's AI driving the car. He's Psycho. Looks like he's getting close to wrapping up a lap. He's got 40 seconds to finish it. Improve that time. Oh, and he's done what we saw him do before. That's going to hurt him for this lap. That won't be an improvement. Gallen's quite upset doing burnouts at the finish line. And Psycho not impressed with that. He's Gallen doing burnouts. Smoking those tyres up for the remaining 5 seconds of qualifying. Might as well use the rest of those tyres, they're no good. And there we go, qualifying is complete, ready for the sprint race. So Corby 387 takes pole position, Gallen 350 starts from 2nd, Weaven 777 starts from 3rd. Rest of the field is Bertie, Psycho 0, Mr. D-Train, Vert Wheeler and Mersey Blue. So seeing a 130.8, a very nice time indeed. So definitely expecting 130s. I think race pace will probably be around the 131 mark for fastest lap for sure. It'll be very interesting first start to this. Perhaps Gallen's not having pole may see him in a nicer position for the start, potentially. So we'll see how things go in the race. Ooh, that was a rather aggressive zoom up. If we can get a better position here so you can see just where they're starting. The Corby will need to get away rather quickly to avoid any chaos in these first corners. As you can see in the map, that bend going up into that technical section, which is rather tricky, especially when there is traffic. Single file, it is okay. See Gallen in a reasonably safe position, so we could get a good start here. Try and jump Corby off the line and get some good solid speed ready for this bend, as he's actually more on the driving line for this corner. So that could see him potentially safe, not having too many cars trying to close in on him whilst he's off driving line. So as we saw that car just jolt, that is meaning they have hit ready. So they have 2 minutes to hit ready. If they don't hit that ready button, they do get disqualified and sent to the pits. Once all drivers have hit ready, the game will momentarily sync up and then we'll be ready to go. Not the best camera angle to be trying to see some cars ducking and weaving off the starting line. Okay, game is sinking. Yeah, revving up. Oh, it may risky for Corby, slightly rolling at the start. Gallen off to a bad start. He's got Bertie rubbing with him. Corby's got away quite well. Gallen's dropped 3 positions. Cars starting to get single file for these corners. As I mentioned, there's not a lot of room here for an error on these blind bends. And Psycho slightly running wide off in the distance. Weaving in a zero, racing only inches between. Oh, and a zero has spun out. I don't know if there was some contact. I think that outside line saw him spin out. It's allowed Gallen to recover another position back up. A little bit of spacing between our first five now. Oh, a little bit of lag shown by Corby as he's going for the corner. Oh, and we just had Vert Wheeler go for a broad slide through that corner. Looks like he pushed another car, but I think it was rather clean for most of the drivers. Mersey Blue and Bertie closing in on Mr. D-Train. A little bit of space now. Leader has 3.5 seconds over him and fourth position now. Weaving and Gallen closing in on each other. While the rest of the field battle it out, there's an opportunity for Corby to try and put some distance between the rest of the field. Gallen slipping in right behind Weavin. Oh, and they both run wide. That could have been a good opportunity for Gallen to have reclaimed back up into second position. That slipstream he had, and then lack of vision going over that crest put him offline for that corner as he was using Weavin most likely as a guide. And since Weavin ran off, he just followed suit. Bertie and D-Train at the moment looking to fight. Weavin's just copped a slowdown penalty, so running off where he did. He didn't abide by it. D-Train runs wide, allowing Bertie to close in a little bit of time behind him. And Gallen now into second position again with his sights set on Corby. Gallen really needs a win for this race for him to try and maintain his lead in the championship. Mr. D-Train also with a slowdown. Oh, a very nice line for that apex, but comes out wide and makes contact with that wall. And then risky spots up through here to make a pass. D-Train going rather close on that apex. Nice lines by the two of them. And there's Mersey Blue running off wide on that same section. Try and get on board with a driver very shortly, just so you can see how poorly visioned it is over that crest on that corner. We got Weavin looking to try and get position 2 back. Corby runs wide on that double corner. Gallen clips that curb, putting him slightly off balance, having to back off that throttle, otherwise he could have put that into a spin. Gallen feeling a bit of pressure, trying to catch up with Corby, but then having Weavin right in his rear. Corby runs wide again. Corby probably looking at those times, being just how quickly Gallen and Weavin are to catching up with him. And the times, there's so many close drivers for times. If you jump to one and miss out on a nice pass from someone. Gallen slightly runs wide. Oh, and he runs off completely. Weavin reclaims second position. Gallen re-enters back in behind. We have Psycho Mersey Blue, D-Train. All very close at the moment. Oh, very different lines. Mersey Blue rather short on the corner, and D-Train going rather wide. We'll see how they go through here. Oh, that looks like Psycho's re-entering just in front of them, running rather wide. It is a relatively safe one to run wide. It is all concrete, or track anyway, should I say. So it is where the cars do run off on a different version of the track. And there's a little while before there's a barricade, so not much risk of making contact. So this is where you have to be cautious, getting on the brakes, getting that nice line. A brilliant line by D-Train. Zero. Looks like a little bit of lag spikes. There's a lot of correcting of the car. You can see it shuddering back left and right. So a bit of latency is going on with what we're seeing his car doing. Gallen's back up in the second position. These guys playing cat and mouse at the moment. Corby still not in the clear yet. You can only hope that Weaven and Gallen occupy themselves quite heavily with contesting for second position. That costs them a little bit of time in trying to catch up with Corby. Corby, not a lot of in a jump on board with Weaven, just so you can see just how poor visibility is coming up around this bend, as while we saw Gallen follow him off. So a very blind crest, you can't see where that track goes, which you see him nearly run off wide again. So when there is a car directly in front of you, you lose a lot of line of sight for that bend. The same here as well. This is where we've seen them go off. Look at that time, he is doing well. Gallen is getting away on him. Oh, Gallen getting in rather close to that corner, throwing a bit of gravel off as he cuts that corner slightly. I don't think we'll see a pass just yet. We've got these three still fighting for position 5. Mersey Blue also not far behind these two. We'll keep an eye on these time differences between Gallen, Weaven and Corby. We can jump over to our race leaders. Gallen hot on the tail of Corby for out 7 at the moment. Up in through sector 1. Gallen sitting that close behind, as I was mentioning before, with the lack of visibility. He wants to hope that Corby is on the right driving line while he follows him. Otherwise they'll both run off, and that could be a nice opportunity for Weaven to pass the two of them. It's lap 7. 4 laps remain. And Corby is sitting third in the series championship with 166 points. Gallen leading only on 217 points. And Corby did get the pole position, so that's 20 points for him for qualifying on pole. And he has 30 points up for grab for a win. And 5 bonus points if he can set the fastest lap as well. So it won't be too drastic for Gallen if he does finish in second. He could also even try and aim for a second with fastest lap. He won't lose out too much in points that way. Let's see who does have fastest lap so far. That's a 0 with a 1:30. I was expecting 1:31s for this then. I'll quickly bring the timings up. There's several slowdown penalties. So D-Train Psycho with 2 seconds and Weaven with a 1 second. So I'll allow these two a little bit of margin of error with Weaven. So if he does close that gap in on them or get past them, he does have that 1 second penalty that could shuffle him back a position potentially. Oh, it looked like there could have been some contact. Corby was heavy on the brakes. Gallen entering that corner rather late. Was a very nice line. These two are going to be fighting tooth and nail all the way to the finish. Look how close they are getting behind. Oh, Gallen having to correct in that corner a little bit. Oh, runs off wide. I think that's an opportunity nearly for Gallen to get through, but that's just put him right on the tail of Corby. Gallen really keen to try and slip through, but he needs to try and do a nice safe pass. He doesn't want to mess it up for the two of them. Here we come on the back straight into the hairpin. Both are flying. Oh, and Gallen's going to try and do a pass. There is a bit of a rub. He's got him. He's got him for the pass. That's a nice inside pass. But I think Corby has got a lot of extra exit speed coming out of that corner. That was a brilliant move by Gallen. As you can see, Gallen did not have that speed coming onto pit straight. He needs to try and block, force Corby to back off a little bit, and then get away on a nice corner on him. 2 laps. Oh, they're almost going to go side by side through this strong. Oh, that's slightly put Gallen offline. Corby is really looking to try and get past again. Oh, he gets broad, trying to get into that corner nice and fast, trying to get that little bit extra speed over Gallen so he can slingshot around through the corner. He's going to make an inside pass on the double apex. This is risky because if he gets up on that curb... Oh, and he's done a nice pass, and it's a beautiful line. Brilliant exit speed coming through. But he's gone out quite wide. Oh, contact by two of them. They both go into a slide. Weaven then goes into the race lead. Gallen re-enters. Some damage done to Gallen's car. Corby fared reasonably well. I think that was an error on Corby's behalf. That's not too bad. They did recover. That could have ended much worse. But Gallen definitely fighting for the car. Don't know if he's just been put out of focus after that little incident. Can take a while to try and recover that mental capacity after being so dedicated on fixing those lines, recovering from a spin, trying to get refocused where you are on the track. Can really put you out of sorts for a good lap or so. Oh, and then it has cost Gallen running wide. That allows Corby to get back into second position. This could be a race win for Weaven, but he does have that 1 second time penalty. Lap 10. Almost coming up to the last lap for Weaven to take the win for this race. He needs to make sure he does have over a second lead from Corby. Corby does not need to make a pass. He just needs to cross that line right on the tail of Weaven, and he will steal that race win away from him. And Gallen 350 now 3.5 seconds away from the leader. It's going to be difficult for him to try and recover unless an error happens between Weaven and Corby. Drivers all starting to separate. Now we've got Bertie 3 seconds behind Gallen. Zero cars looking reasonably well. He's a second behind Bertie. Mr. D Train's about 4 seconds behind Azuro. And Mersey Blue 7 seconds behind Mr. D Train. And Psycho is about 12 seconds off pace from behind Mersey Blue. And Vert Wheeler, which we saw take that big spin early on in the race. Back of the field, he's got 20 seconds just about behind Psycho. I don't think anyone's going to be lapping anytime soon. But Weaven definitely getting ahead on Corby. So Corby definitely would have taken some damage for sure. Not to the same extent that we saw Gallen's car. As you can see, Gallen slipping even more behind. He's now almost 6 seconds. So Bertie starting to close in on him as well. Gallen's car definitely showing some struggles, and a little bit as well with Corby. I don't know if he's just feeling a little bit off pace or if that car just isn't handling how it was before. With 2 second lead, I think Weaven 777 has this race in the bag. Here it is, last lap. And you do a nice line through here. He's got 2.5 seconds. Now he just needs to punch it. Off he goes. He has won the race. A win for Weaven 777. Congratulations, Weaven. He keeps that first position. There is Corby on the podium. Gallen with a third. Bertie in fourth. Zero in fifth. Mr. D Train in sixth. Mersey Blue coming up in seventh. 60 seconds to get final laps. Well done, Mersey Blue. 7th position. Here comes Psycho wrapping up his last lap. Nice line on the last corner. Crosses the line. Takes home 8th position. Brilliant driving, Psycho. And Vert Wheeler, I think he may have time to finish up this lap potentially. Yes, here he goes. All drivers getting across the line in time. Nice driving throughout this sprint race. Oh, unfortunate contact for Vert. Won't affect him, luckily. Here he goes. 9th position for Vert Wheeler. Brilliant race for all drivers. A fantastic win for Weaven. Congratulations on a great drive. And fastest lap set for the race, a 1:30.886, and that goes to a 0:143. Well done on a very quick time indeed. So our race leaders in the 1:32s. So setting a 1:30, very tight time indeed. So congratulations, Weaven, on the win. Corby 387 with the podium in second place, followed by Gallen in third place. And then the rest of the field, Bertie, Azuro, Mr. D-Train, Mersey Blue, Psycho, and Vert Wheeler. So we'll be having a quick break for drivers to recuperate before the next session. So we'll be having a 7-minute break. So time is currently 8:30. So we'll be back in 7 minutes. So at 37 minutes past, we should be just about ready to head off into the next session. So we have another 15-minute qualifier, followed by the main race, which is 25 laps with mandatory pit. So a lot more action, and with the times we've just seen, it's going to be very intense racing indeed. So stay tuned. Be sure to hit that follow button as well. We won't be cutting the stream, we'll just be heading off to a Be Right Back screen. So stay tuned. And we are back for session 2 for round 3 of the Ferrari Series 488 challenge. We just saw Weaven 777 claim victory in the sprint race after seeing Corby 387 and Gullen 350 contesting quite strongly for the race lead, and then after a couple passes on each other, both getting side by side and then making contact and then going off for a big slide, allowing Weaven 777 to shoot straight ahead and take the lead. And he did have that 1 second time penalty, but was enough to get ahead of Corby and then reclaim that lost time in the way of the penalty. So we've got 15 minutes for qualifying at the moment. So session 2, current game time is 1 o'clock. Weather is light cloud. Being just slightly after midday, in summer, track temperatures will be much higher than we have seen so far tonight. The light cloud will slightly back a little bit of temperature off. We should be able to possibly see a 130 be set as well. And in that first qualifying session, Corby did steal pole position on that last lap. And we just had another driver join in as well, so Rooney 9915. Wasn't made it for the second session, a big broad slide, but he manages to get control of that. It was a very nice drift. That could have ended badly, could have slid that off into Vert Wheeler. On that first lap we did see Vert Wheeler, and I think it may have been a zero. It may have been Mersey that drifted off on that first lap. Zero finding that car to be a little bit slippery. So I'll have to make myself familiar with Rooney's car. Easy to spot, nice and yellow, already some bumps and scrapes. Mr. D-Train flying in behind him. Already rubber laid on that blind bend. Not sure who that was just ahead of them that had run wide. Looks like a blue car. Oh, sorry, that was a purple one, so it'd be Vert Wheeler, yes. Like I was just mentioning, in the practice session he did actually manage somehow to flip his car coming out of the pits. He wasn't sure what went on, he was on his roof. We did miss that, unfortunately. That would have been rather interesting to see. Rennie's just run off track, he just had a heap of race speeds come up saying he's exceeded track limits. My screen gets flooded in the feed when that does happen, when they've done a bad runoff, and he's into the pits, so he's obviously probably caused some damage. First times coming in, 132.8 by Mr. D-Train Barbado. That Wheeler going off. D-Train just getting around. Vert Wheeler at 134. So in the 134s is Bertie. It looks like Corby's car tucking in behind him. They both run wide. Oh, Zero comes in with a 1:31.442. Very impressive. Zero did take out the fastest lap in the race by a couple of seconds. He was blistering for that fastest laps being set. If he can have this pace that he had in the sprint race before the qualifying session and set another 1:30, definitely could be a pole position time for sure. And don't forget, if you are watching the stream, let us know who you think's going to take pole position for this session, who you think's going to take the race win. And don't forget to use those sound controls down underneath the stream window. Play those sound effects and have some fun with the stream. And don't forget to hit that follow button as well. We are very close to our milestone of 50 followers. Weaven doing well, also 1:31.945, half a second off pace from Zero. Weaven setting some very consistent lap times in that sprint race. We didn't get Weaven attend last week's round, so we missed out on round 2. If you join us for our other races as well on Tuesday nights, we have the V8 Supercar Bathurst Challenge, which the final round is next week. We did miss out on the last round for it as well last week. We had him back in full form this week once again. Even running wide. Even brings that car back into the pits. The D-Train taking it quite easy. He may have had that last lap being invalidated, so just taking it easy, get a nice line through that hairpin so he can have a nice starting speed crossing the line here. So a nice start to a very good lap, hopefully for the D-Train. And Psycho in that fluorescent yellow and white Tiger car comes in with a 1:32.998. Vert Wheeler in 6th position currently with a 1:34. Bertie 10:35 also with a 1:34. Nice line, a little bit of slip, feathering that throttle through, not too bad. Corby pulls it back to the field. 1:34s as well. And also Gallen. 1:35.8. Not sure if they're just off pace. Conditions slightly different for him. Gallen's taken a fair bit of damage to that car. And Mersey Blue just improved his time. He's just moved up into a 1:34. So far, one Gallen at the back of the field is Gallen. Almost seeing a reverse field from what we saw in the first qualifying. But we had Gallen and Corby starting up the front. And 6 minutes remaining for drivers to get a nice time in. There's 20 points up for grabs for pole position. That's very tight for points for the championship. Corby's just run off track. He's just had his lap currently invalidated. But look at a Zero. His fastest lap of 1:31.181. His last lap of 1:31.649. So his last lap still better than his fastest time, but it's still faster than the qualifying time set by Weaven with a 1:31.939. So some very consistent pace being shown by Azuro, and definite room for improvement. I think he can definitely scrape this 1:30, and he's got a bit of a slipstream advantage here coming in. He needs to be on those anchors a bit harder. Nice line, power through. You use this slipstream here, and it looks like we've just had Mersey Blue duck off. I think we may see a 1:30. No, he didn't do it. Let's see what he set. That was very slow, 1:46, so he must have gone off somewhere. Or had traffic that's put him off. Rooney coming in late into the series, running off rather wide, but he has come in with a 1:32.287. That is a good time. He is starting from the front so far. And here we go. 6:8.013 off Azuro's time. That is very tight. And of course, Corby 387, we need to keep an eye on him in the last minutes. He does like to steal pole position on that last lap. I don't know if he waits until most cars are all entered back into the pits and then flogs it out for that last lap. Which is an advantage. You won't have as much traffic on there to slow you down, have to get offline to do a pass. However, having that traffic with someone setting some quite good pace in front of you, you can use that to your advantage to get a nice bit of extra speed that you wouldn't normally do just being out there as a lone wolf setting a lap. Rooney doing quite well. So look at the times on the board. First to 10th, 3.7 seconds difference in the first round. Sorry, first session of tonight's round. There was 5 seconds separating all the drivers. We're now only getting 3.7 seconds. It is very tight. Over a course of 25 laps, we won't be really seeing anyone being lapped if they are all at that consistent pace. We'll make our way through the field. See how everyone is going. And a 1:32.8, a very nice time indeed for Mr. D-Train. A very nice line through this bend. As I mentioned, there'd be very tricky passes going through this sector. So, sector 2, very tricky indeed. That is where we saw Corby and Gallen go off for the slide, allowing Weaven to get past and claim victory in that sprint race. I don't know if that lap counted for Bertie. Rank speed was showing that Bertie had a lap time validated just for a minor cut. Spammed with the notice. It's only a small cut. That could have been the lap price. There's 1:30 remaining of qualifying. But we're a little bit offline coming through that bend. That's where we saw him and another car go off for a slide on lap 1. Oh, goes off. Weaven 777's just had his lap time validated. Weaven's head into the pits. Vert Wheeler's time wasn't invalidated, but it won't be a nice quick time, so you won't see an improvement for him there. Corby 387 tucking in right behind Mersey Blue. Mersey Blue runs off wide, allows Corby, and there's 40 seconds remaining. He can get this lap in and possibly another Will he steal pole position with a 130? He needs really to be in that 130 mark to break. Very nice line. Not sure how the rest of his lap's gone. He's got a 134.7. Will he move from 9th? Where will he go? He jumps up into 5th position. So he has this lap to try and steal pole position away from Gallon 350. Oh, and Gallon's not going to have another chance to get another lap in. I don't know if Mersey Blue just crossed that line in time before the completion flag was shown. From the looks of it, I think he does. So he has another lap to do it. Gallon's probably going to do some burnouts like he did last time. He was frustrated binning that car right at the end, and I know Gallon's got the stream going as well. Just make sure you don't block the traffic for other cars. And Corby is still out on track, him and Mersey Blue. And Bertie as well. Try and see who's going to cross. Oh, it could cost him a bit of time. I think Bertie's closer to wrapping up this lap. No, it does not look like it. Looks like Corby is ahead of him. Excuse me. There's Gallon doing burnouts. As long as he does not block anyone. He doesn't want to cop a penalty for blocking people. Will he improve it? 132.5. Can he beat it? He does. He moves up into 3rd position. Not a pole position, stealing time like he usually does. Here comes Mersey Blue into the last bend. Bypassing the distraction of Gallon doing donuts. Will he improve his time? I think he can do it. 30 seconds remain. Him and a 0 left. No, he doesn't improve that time. Oh, we've just got Gallon finished doing his burnouts. All drivers are in the pits. He's got 14 seconds to destroy what's left of his car and those tyres. You watching the stream? The 488 Challenge Ferrari does quite well donuts there. And there we have it. So Gallon retains the pole position, likely not being stolen by Corby's trademark last lap steal of pole position. And there is a penalty, so a speeding penalty given to Bertie, so 1 grid place, so it's showing he qualifies in 8th position. However, that will see him start in 9th, so Vert Wheeler moves up into 8th position. So starting at the front with Gallon 350 is a 0143, Corby 387, and Weaven 777. The rest of the field, Rooney, D-Train, Psychogency, Vert Wheeler, Bertie, and then Mersey Blue. So off we go into the race ready screen. Drivers need to set their pit strategies as is mandatory pit for this race. I don't know how their soft tyres will go with 25 laps around this circuit. So as you can see, as I discussed last time, starting in 2nd, you are actually on the driving line. So pole position needs to get ahead rather quickly and then try and take that track position rather quickly. So the inside line cars will be looking to try and move back over. So that means they have to go a little bit slower if there's a car off to their right side owning that track position. And that's going to put them off slightly and have to try and tuck back in single file almost for that first corner. And then the following bends, which are all blind crests. So a lot of chaos potentially for the start of this race. They have to be very careful who is there and just allow some room. Races can't be won at the start. Can improve a couple of race positions on a good start, but you don't want it ending up in disaster by taking yourself out as well as someone else and then costing you the race entirely. So drivers have hit ready. Oh, there's a little bit of rollback there for Gallen. He's going to nudge forward. Green light, off we go. A good start for Gallen. A bit of wheel slip. Azuro's got quite a good jump. A lot of speed. Oh, he's moving over already. So Gallen. Oh, there's been a spin out. It looks like Rooney. A bit of a rub from... Oh, and a nudge as well. A rear shunt. Corby is tucking in behind these two while they are fighting for the first position. But Azuro getting ahead rather quickly up through the hill. So he has the advantage of going over these blind crests. Oh, he locked up. D-Train goes off wide. And we saw Azuro set the fastest lap of the sprint race, a 1:30. He has a strong advantage at the moment, especially with how tight Corby and Gallen 350 are. And Waven also tucking in up behind rather tightly. D-Train runs off wide. Allows Vert Wheeler to move up a position. Ooh, car's getting quite broad through the chicane. Weaving, breathing down the neck of Corby 387. We've got Psycho looking to make a pass on the hairpin. He's going to have to be on the brakes really hard. I don't think he's going to pull this up in time. This could put him in a slide. Manages to bring that in just in time. A nice pass, getting past Vert Wheeler. Brilliant driving by Psycho. Bertie also starting to close in on Vert Wheeler as well. There is only a matter of seconds between second and 8th position. Gallen closing in the gap slightly. Looks like we just saw Weaven run off a little bit back in the distance. He's slipped a little bit behind, so he's now just lost a second over Corby. As you can see in the times, Gallen closes that gap in on a 0 to about 0.3 of a second. But then through the next sector, a 0 pushes that lead out to almost half a second and then almost to 0.6. Be nice if I was getting sector times. It would be interesting to see just the difference that these two are setting in different sectors. A little bit of space please between these two. We have D-Train, Vert Wheeler and Bertie. No time between the two. Yes, you can see on the times, Gallen 350 has now slipped back off, so Bertie is just heading to the pits. Not sure what's going on. He's fighting with that car. He's taken some front suspension damage from the looks of that. It's unfortunate for Bertie, and he's also copped a time penalty as well. That's 10 seconds. That's speeding in pits. Oh, Corby runs off wide. Could potentially be a slowdown for him. Zero really keeping these two at bay. He's doing some very consistent driving in that first race. If he maintains this and pressure doesn't get to him, he could keep Gallen at bay for a while. He's not out of the clear just yet though. Half a second, all it needs is just to be slightly offline. And that could cost him half a second easily, just like that chicane. Gallen also not doing so well through that chicane. we've got Vert, Wheeler, Mr. D-Train and Corby all within a second. And we're just going to keep an eye on the time gaps between our race leaders. So you have a bit of time. We'll see what the fastest lap so far has come up. It looks like it's gone to Gallon 350. No, it's gone to Corby 1:31.398. But he's 9 seconds behind the leaders. You can see now Gallon 350 slipping to almost 1.5 seconds behind Azuro. He could get it. Oh, he's run off wide. That's going to cost him probably 1/4 second. Ooh, 1/2 second. That's cost him. Very off pace. This is an opportunity for Gallon to get past. Oh, that hitting of the curb will have cost him slightly. Let's push that margin back out again between these two. So Zero doing quite well. Gallon a little bit wide up on that strip. We saw Gallon do a nice pass on Corby. Came in quite hot with some very late braking and a nice turn, but Zero just pulls away from Gallon quite quick. So last lap, 1:33.28 for Zero and a 1:33.322. Not much between them. Psych Agency's moved up into third position. Weaven's moved back quite a fair bit, so he's obviously run off. I'm not getting a race feed, unfortunately, so we can't see what's going on when people are moving up into a new position. So, Weaven, D-Train, Barbado and Vert Wheeler all very close together. All cars looking pretty good. There appear to be much damage taken. So a nice clean start for 5 laps in. A fifth of the way through. Seen Bertie already have to pit in with some damage. He's got that 10-second penalty which will hurt him as well potentially over the course of this race. Which is Psycho, so he has Vert Wheeler closing in on him rather quickly. Oh, some big walk under that car was airborne. And again, that's going to let... Oh no, Vert Wheeler looking to make the pass. Psycho recovers from that. That's unfortunate for Vert Wheeler. Having to get that car back on track. That's very unfortunate. That's put him off focus for sure. He was doing very well. Psycho then going off. Vert Wheeler looking to make a pass after Psycho hitting that wall a couple of times. Then put him in a bad position, making that contact. Weaven looking to pass Mr. D-Train. Gallon's got a time penalty by the looks of things as well. Same as Rooney. Quickly bring that up. They're set slow down penalties. 2 for Rooney, 1 for Gallon. And Gallon slipping behind off Azuro. Azuro is flying at the moment. And Psycho with a bit of a battered car. starting to close in on Mr. D-Train as well. You can see a lot of shudder in that car going around that bend as it gets over that curb. Going to crack a little in that downshift. Playing cautious over that line. You need to hope that your opponent is following the correct line as you come around these bends, as you cannot see. Drivers mostly spacing out now, and a zero. No other car in sight around him. It's almost 6.5 second lead. Starting to catch up to some back markers. We have Rooney. And we saw Finn out quite early on. So we'll have a zero starting to catch up and look to pass him very shortly. Blue flag will be shown. So lap 8. I think for Gallen and Corby to try and claim a victory here, it'll come down to a pit stop. D-Train and Vert Wheeler contesting along pit straight. Vert Wheeler gets past D-Train. He now moves up into 5th position. D-Train's pace seems to be a little bit off. I'm not sure if he's facing a little bit of damage on the car. His last lap of 146, very much off pace. So D-Train's fastest lap of 134. Not quite the times we're seeing him do throughout the rest of tonight's session. Drivers all well and truly spaced, so we will jump on board our race leader. He's doing a fantastic amount of driving. Oh, there's been a spin out. I think that is Rooney. Moves out of the way. We've just had a driver join. It's too late for him to be able to get involved in the racing. I'm hoping he may have been able to get in time. We'll be able to spectate. Zero, a little bit off his pace. That lap was a 134. Mr. D-Train and Vert Wheeler is looking to exchange positions yet again. The D-Train having a bad last lap with a 146. Let's see if that improves. Yeah, 135.849. And he must have run off track, giving that opportunity for Vert Wheeler to claim that position away from him, taking 5th. Oh, D-Train goes off again. It may have been where it happened before. And check out the rest of the field. Colby 387. We saw him and Gallen 350 having a very good battle for the race lead throughout the last laps of that sprint race. But then their fierce competition between each other ended up in them going off for a slide in unison. And that allowed Weaven 777 to shoot ahead and claim victory in that race. Weaven 777 doing rather well. We did see him slip back a fair few positions just earlier on in this race. He's reclaimed back up into 4th position. A few corrections on the steering. I wasn't sure if that may have been a little bit of latency issues being shown. He runs wide just slightly. Much better line. And on board with Weaven. While there's some space and some battles, we'll check out just how they are doing on track from their view. As you can see, very confusing where the rest of the track goes off for the other versions of the track around Sonoma. And it is a slight off-camber corner, so you can't see where the track goes. You just got to try and remember, pick an object off in the distance to set as your cornering marker, and then go off by that and fly through. Have Bertie and Mersey Blue honing in on each other. Corby's also starting to close the gap in on Gallon 350. Oh, very tidy line for Bertie getting up over that curb. That was flat out. Heavy on those brakes. A little bit of fighting in the steer. Leaving that car power out of the corner. And we have Corby closing on Gallon. Gallon a little bit off pace, so his last lap of 1:38, so he's run wide somewhere. It's cost him about 6 seconds from what he's been doing. His fastest lap of 1:31.403. So for Gallon to try and continue his series lead, we'll need to at least try and finish in second position if he can. So he's brought the car into pit, so he's taken a fair bit of a hit. So I don't know if I tried. Yeah, he hasn't changed tyres. That was a very quick stop and go. So Bertie and Gallon have been the only cars that have already served the mandatory pit. I'm not sure if Bertie will be fine with tyres, but given we're just about halfway through the race, Gallon's been pushing that car fairly hard. He obviously is satisfied that the tyres will last the entirety of the race. So that will give a good opportunity for Bertie, not having to re-pit provided he doesn't need fuel or repairs for any reason. Mersey Blue really starting to hone in on him as well. After Gallon making his pit, he's come in at 6th position. So the lap with the pit stop, a 1:59. We're seeing about 24 seconds for a pit stop, and that was a quick stop and go. And he's 37 seconds behind the race leader, and the 5 cars before him all need to stop for their mandatory pit. Mersey Blue runs off slightly wide. They're losing that gain he was starting to get on Bertie. We have D-Train, Barbado and the Wheeler 07 looking to fight for that position yet again. They've been doing a little bit of swapping and changing. And as D-Train hones back in, he He's run wide a couple of times. Letting that lead slip off. So Mersey Blue heading into the pits now, serving his mandatory pit. Over to our race leader, 0143. Very tidy driving by Zero consistently throughout this race so far. He was very consistent last race as well. Just only managed to finish midfield, unfortunately, but was the quickest car out there, setting a 130. And a 131.5. So fastest lap, 131.398, I think, is the time, and that is gone to Corby. We've got Gallen looking to move back up through the field. He's catching up to Mr. D-Train Barbado. Not a lapped car, but D-Train's pace is slightly off. Gallen just sneaking in front. Doesn't want to risk. Oh, he's coming in very quick here. Yep, that's going to put him in the slide. Heavy lockup going to there. That was lucky, so didn't need to take that added risk of coming in so quick for that corner, as D-Train did just pair off into the pits. So Gallen now, looks like a sign just got pushed off somewhere, so we may have had Gallen run wide, sorry, cut that corner just slightly. Looked like it was a braking marker that was hit. So we've got him coming up to Vert Wheeler very quickly. Colby currently in second position. He's almost 8 seconds behind our race leader, who's on lap 14. It'll be interesting to see when these guys decide to actually choose to make their pit stop. They may be seeing to eye off when a Zero is going to be making his. But it looks like D-Train may have been a lap back. We'll have a quick look and see what lap he's on. He's on lap 14, so he is a lap back. He would have been shown blue flag for Gallen to get past. Some quite consistent times across the board. So last lap's being set 133s, 132, mostly 133s except for a few. Gallen closing in on Vert Wheeler. Vert Wheeler been doing some nice driving in this race. We saw him going for a big slide when they were side by side with another car on that first lap in the sprint race. That put him off to a bad start. And here goes a Zero heading into the pits. So we saw 25 seconds so for a stop and go. Corby's also followed. Vert Wheeler goes out wide. That allows Gallen. Weaven stays out on track. So he now takes the lead for the race. The Gallen's 26 seconds behind the leader, but I think a Zero will be heading out before. I think Corby's already out, so that's a quicker pit stop than a Zero. I think they are doing... I'm not sure what they're doing. Whether it's fuel. So he's opted to change tyres. So car setup's definitely playing a strong part. So a Zero slips back into 4th position. That's now allowed Weaven, a race winner from the sprint race from tonight. and he has 26 seconds lead over position 2. He's closing in on some back markers. Mersey Blue will be getting shown the blue flag. Weaver needs to try and get past quickly and cleanly. He cannot afford to have an incident trying to get past Mersey Blue. If he can get past Mersey Blue reasonably quick this lap, that's probably a good idea to stay out on track for another lap yet. Yes. Oh, but very quick. He may make that same mistake that Gallen did. No, he brings that up in time. Very nice line. Very nice exit on that corner. Right up against that wall. Brilliant blistering speed coming out. So Weaven will need to try and get in for that pit. I don't know if I get... No, we don't get on this report. We've got Birdie with 11-second penalty now. Gallen has a 1-second penalty as well. With Weaven's pit stop, if it only takes him 25 seconds to stop, that could see him come out just in behind Gallen and in between him and Corby. And then if he can remain these last 8 laps within a second of Gallen, as Gallen has 2-second time penalty, he could steal away another race win without needing to be at the front of the race. Weaven's last lap, 1:33.879, but he did have a little bit of slowed up time from Mersey Blue. We may see a quicker lap out of this. I don't think he'll head into the pits this lap. I think he'll go for another lap just yet. Let's see what this lap is. It's Gallen's last lap at 1:33.060. We'll be closing in 1:33.5, so it's a better time. He's saved a little bit time. Hopefully he shouldn't have any traffic coming up ahead. We'll bring up the map for him. So he is the arrow. So he's just coming up out of Sector 1, heading into Sector 2 now. There isn't much traffic for a while. So possibly good strategy for Weaven at this stage. Stay out for another lap before pitting in. We'll head to Gallen. He has a clear run as well, so he's gotten behind, or gotten past some of the slower traffic. Look at Corby, so he's right behind him. And both Corby and Gallen have pit. But he has pit as well. And a 0. So a race leader needing to decide what he's doing. This pit stop, and then what times he can put down currently. I think he is going to stay out. Interesting though, if he'd already had pitted early on, he did slip back and then recover quite quickly, so I'm not sure if he may have had a little bit of damage and already pitted, and if that is the case, this could be quite safe for him. I don't think he has. And the rest of the field quite spaced out. So a fair bit of damage being shown to Rooney's car. That front bar is barely holding on. But his last lap, 1:33.688. So aero not affecting the car too much. May just be residual damage from previous, and he may have been in the pits and just has not re-cleared up the visuals. As the game does not do that, it keeps looking very battered and flapping. It only just refaces spoilers onto the car. D-Train Barbado a little bit off pace this race. Not sure if he's changed setup. The car's slightly performing different, or fuel loads may be playing a part as well. Right, over to a 0, so he's closing in on Bertie, and then we've also got Gallen having Corby close in on him rather quickly. Very quickly indeed. These two had a fierce battle in race 1 of tonight's round. Don't forget, if you are joining in for our stream, let us know who you think's going to win. Let us know who you think might even be our champion and get to take home the coveted Apex eSports League Coffee Cup. First one ever we did was for the Porsche Cayman GT4. Oh, Gallen spins out and then dives into Corby. That's going to cost Gallen some big time. He's going to lose another position here, I think, unless that's a back marker. No, Bertie. And a 0 as well. Oh no, and he's spun. No. He's on a car reset. Oh, a bit of lag. That's unfortunate. So Bertie now moves up into second position. Fighting with that car around that bend as Corby was taking that inside line. Gallen has recovered reasonably well. He got that car back around quickly. And here goes Weaven into the pits. He has 25 seconds for a stop and go. This could see him get back out. Here comes Bertie, Corby and Gallen. Times have gone absolutely haywire. We're not getting correct times here. They were 28 seconds off, now it's caught back up to 18 seconds. There's been 10 seconds. Weaven's coming out of the pits. He has 14 seconds before these guys come catching up to him. He's definitely in the clear. He's going to be out on that bend. But he comes into the hairpin, coming onto pit straight. Weaven is one of the first pit boxes, so we have the longest section to go. Here he comes. Here comes Bertie. He's going to be coming out just in front. Times 3 seconds. Just in time. It is perfect timing to get a cheer from the crowd as Weaven goes around that bend. That was perfect timing for Weaven. So Weaven manages to secure victory in that first race by Corby and Gallen getting involved in an incident, allowing him to safely get through after they go off into that spill off into their pirouette off track together. And then Corby and Gallen making some contact again, allowing Weaven to increase that lead, giving that perfect timing. You probably heard some F-bombs going on in the party chat as all the drivers are in a chat together. And then if he's got times up on his screen, he probably saw the times drop out significantly. I knew this was his time to pit. I think he's rather safe. He has got a very tidy car. Very quick best lap. Bertie behind him has 11-second time penalty. Even if he does lose a position with only 4 laps remaining, losing a position isn't going to hurt him. Just needs to tuck in and stay within that 10-second time frame. And I think it's going to be a double win for Weaven 777. Weaven's been a long-time driver with Apex eSports League since we started. He's been around for about 5 months. Weaven has done some spectacular driving, but the driving tonight is absolutely phenomenal from Weaven 777. A double win would be very deserving towards Weaven. Bertie closing in on Corby. So Corby did get a pass over Bertie, and Bertie has that time penalty as well. Bertie is quickly closing that gap back in. So an error was probably made by Bertie, allowing Corby to slip through. Now series leader slipping back a little bit. So unfortunate for Gallen with that slide, and then diving back in across track, making contact with Corby. Lucky for Corby, he managed to get out of that reasonably okay. So lap 23. Corby's 4 seconds behind. Oh, Bertie goes off wide. He brings the car back in time as Zero comes flying up behind. I think we'll see Azuro get past. He's quite heavy on those brakes coming in. He's a little bit offline. Speed slightly off coming in. I think he was almost preparing for Bertie to go slightly offline and maybe enter into a spin. So he was playing cautious. Even 777 in the series championship is currently coming 6th with 102 points. So a double win tonight will definitely help move him up towards the top contenders. Won't be enough to probably get him towards the championship, as he did miss last week's round. But if he's in it for the next two, that could be some definite opportunities to move up. So almost on the last laps. There is a lot of red showing on that position results screen to the side. There is time penalties galore. Bertie with a 11, 3 seconds to a 0, 2 seconds to Gallen, 1 second to Psycho, and 2 seconds to Rooney. So Bertie copping the biggest. Oh, Corby into a broad slide. He recovers that. Can he flip spin that back around in time? He's got enough of a gap between him and Azuro. Azuro now catching back up. He's only 2 seconds behind. Bertie trying to close in on Azuro. Don't know if you'll be able to catch him in time in the last couple of laps. Oh, Azuro slightly offline coming through this double bend. Nice line through the chicanes. Off track. Unfortunately for Gallen, Gallen has 2 second time penalty, so that's going to put him to 20 seconds. And then we've got Bertie with 11, so that'll put him to 23. So Gallen can recover a position quite easily by the way of time penalty. Zero flying up behind Corby. I think there could be a pass. It'd be nice to be able to jump over to Weaven for a victory lap, but I think we may see a potential move for second position on this last lap. Zero's been in fine form for this race. Oh yes, a broad slide going down into the sweeping left. He's got the inside line, but that's put him off. No, that's just gone into a big broad slide that's going to allow Bertie and Gallen to get through. Not quite for Gallen. There's a 0, have a time penalty. He has 3 seconds. Gallen's got 2. Gallen needs to be 1 second behind. Over we go, 2 even 777. He just needs to bring this across the line. Penalty free. Clean car. Here he does. Double win at Sonoma Raceway. Well done and congratulations. Weaving, flashing the lights. Blowing down to cross the finish line. Congratulations. Brilliant driving, Weaving 777. Corby comes in position 2. I think he has a time penalty as well, potentially. No, he doesn't, so that's clean for him. Corby comes in second. Bertie moves to 4th position because of way of time position. No, moves down to 5th, so a 0 claims 3rd position. Claims podium. Gallen on 4th. Bertie moves back to 5th because of time penalty. Psycho's coming along in 6th position. Finishes in 6th. Vert Wheeler. 50 seconds to finish last laps. Here he comes, crossing the line, 7th position. Well done, Vert Wheeler. Here comes Rooney in 8th position. 30 seconds to do finish this last lap. So a little bit of contact on that wall as he comes through. On that bar, flapping about quite fiercely now at the end of the race. Well done, 8th position. D-Train crosses the line just before it ends. There we have it. Round 3 of the Ferrari Series 488 Challenge is concluded. Main race, 25 laps at Sonoma Raceway GP. Weaving 777 with a double win tonight. Brilliant driving. Let's have a look at the fastest lap. We've got, from the looks of things, a 1:31.398, I think, is the fastest time. That's gone to Corby, so 5 bonus points to Corby for the fastest lap. So very well done there. So also on the podium in second place is Corby 387. Also on the podium a 0:143 taking third. So Gallen 350 comes in at 4th, and then the rest of the field: Bertie, Psychogency, Vert Wheeler, Rooney, Mr. D-Train, and Mersey Blue. So brilliant driving throughout the field with some spectacular moves. So next week we have the same time on Thursday night, so 7:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So we have Daylight Savings Time coming in this weekend. So be sure that it'll be slightly different. So if you in other states don't have Daylight Savings Time, it will be an hour earlier for you guys. So we head off to Fuji GP for the round 4 of the series, and then the final round will be the following week, where we will have Autodromo Nacional Monza GP. So it should be very exciting with these cars around the Fuji GP next week, so be sure to hit that follow button so you can be notified when we go live for the stream. And then don't forget to head over to our Facebook page so you can see the results, see if any penalties have been served, check any replays that may be posted up there from any incidents that need being reviewed as well. And you can be sure to keep up to date with how your favourite drivers are going, and you can also join our group from there as well, and then get involved in our racing. It'd be great to see you involved in any of our races. We have our V8 Supercars Bathurst Challenge final round next Tuesday night at 7:30, and that's Australian Eastern Daylight Time as well. That will be one to check out as well. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as all our races after the streams get saved there, so you can go back and watch any past broadcasts that we have done. But definitely hit that follow button. We're almost at our next milestone of 50 followers. We would appreciate it if you could do that. So thanks for joining us for tonight. It's been a fantastic race. Out of all our drivers was some very exciting action. So hopefully we catch you next week. Thanks for tuning in.